This is Casey Copeland, and this is my video tour for my e-portfolio for my LMS Practicum. Very quickly, I'm going to go over a couple of things. I have my resume, my candidate information, all of my standards, 1 through 6, and my activity evidence. One thing quickly I'm going to say that I'm very proud of is my library policy handbook. I am very proud of this because I had to do most of it on my own, so I am very happy with how it turned out, and I am excited to post it so that all the librarians in the district have access to this and can use it as needed. So to talk about the standards a little bit, so I can have enough time. So the first standard is school library media candidates encourage reading and lifelong learning by stimulating interest and fostering competencies and effective use of ideas and information. So with the coursework, the first one that I have done would be my text set, and this was from not a library class, but Read 861, and I'm very proud of this because there's 100 books pre-K through 12, and on each one how they can be utilized in the classroom, and I'm very proud of this because, again, there's 100 books pre-K through 12, and this shows that I understand how that books need to be used in all grade levels, and it's teaching kids how there's different ones in there and giving them a wealth of options. And I have nonfiction, fiction, poetry, all of them in there, and it also shows that I am willing to read and do what I need to show books, to show students. So that was the coursework. And then for personal experience, this year the LMS has established a book club, and I am in there, and I have a sign that says I'm reading this book, and kids see me with books all the time, and they're constantly like, "Oh, miss, what are you reading?" And so I can show them and tell them, and I'm promoting lifelong reading by modeling. I love to read, and I easily can tell them, "Hey, I think you would like this book," and that shows them that, yeah, I want to read, and reading is actually more than something that's just assigned. The next standard, school library media candidates model and promote collaborative planning with classroom teachers in order to teach concepts and skills of information process integrated with classroom content. For this one, I chose one of the very first lesson plans that I made to collaborate with LMS and the school teacher. And this might for a freshman English teacher poetry, for teaching poetry, and I chose World War I poetry instead of just teaching poetry as a whole. I picked a specific time, and I've done this with the Harlem Renaissance as well, and I taught poetry with it so they can see how poetry has added to history and language, and showed what is going on and how they express their ideas. And so there's a lot of information here with the teachers, mostly teacher directed, but there is, for the LMS's role, they have to research one of the authors and make a little PowerPoint about it, and the LMS would be teaching credible and uncredible sources. This would mostly be a refresher for students, but it's always good to go over source credibility. So the LMS would take over source credibility, how important it is to know if a source is credible or non-credible, and then there's also an infographic that I made that shows if a source is credible or not. It includes, is this author someone who is well known? Are they an expert in their field, or is just some guy? So that's something that I made as well, and that I have used for my research. And again, the experience that I have with this one is that I promote collaborative planning, and I have seen how this is done. I have not experienced it enough because the LMS that was here before the current one did not establish that, and many teachers struggle with that, with collaborating with them. And I want to be that librarian who steps in and collaborates. But one example of this would be the LMS. The current LMS, she took over a class while a teacher was gone. He was sick. And so she took over the class and was teaching citations during their research paper. So that is collaborative planning. They could definitely come in and teach it, and I would be more than capable of doing that since I taught freshman English and taught sources and things like that. So that's my experience, a little bit of it. Third one, school library media candidates provide leadership and establish connections with the greater library and education community create school library media programs focused on student learning and achievement. So what I picked for this one was the book dating game, and for my coursework, I created this for the practicum. It wasn't necessarily in the other coursework, but I created it for the practicum. And I created this because it could be used at every different level, and just pick the books that students would be reading, and then it's just a book dating game. You put the books out, they read which one and rate them. And this gives kids an option of, oh, okay, so I have an 80-page book here, but is it going to be easy? Well, with this one I have a 229, but is it going to be okay for me? And read the back, and I made this as something collaborative so that all librarians could use this, or teachers could use this as well. And it's important that, you know, you can adapt things easily. And I feel like this is something that can easily be done in classrooms as well. And so it can be shown. So it can be shown in the library, and teachers can be used this in the classroom. So I think this would also be a great PD. And so that's why I added it in here. And for a personal experience with providing leadership and establishing connection with the Great Library, I've already started to do this with the librarians here. I've started sitting in with them, even though I still don't know if I'm going to be in the library next year. I thought it was important to introduce myself. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I have. These are my goals. And providing leadership and saying, hey, this is what I would like to do. And I encourage the personal and professional growth of teachers and their educators. I always like to learn, and it's like, this is what I do, and collaborate with other teachers. So I'm already doing that on the level, and people see me in the library and they ask questions. So that's my experience with it. For school library media candidates administer the library media program in order to support the mission of the school, according to the principles of best practice in library science and board administration. And the coursework for this, this was done during my work log hours. I created a display for National Women's History Month, and so I picked books that I felt that were either written by strong women or about women, professional, very famous women like Marie Curie and Helen Keller. And I had little bookmarks in there kind of blurbing, okay, this person did this. On one side, and then on the other I had different quotes from people, and then the poem Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou, and some more bookmarks and more women. And on this side I just have gee, I'm glad I'm a woman. Just bringing in that history component into it, and just kind of looking at being a little bit more fun. And it was very interesting for me to create this, and I feel like this is a part of the the LMS role as administrator, that you are doing this. So that's kind of my coursework stuff with the work log. And then for my experience, I have seen how the LMS administers and gets the books in here and reads and understands and does a lot of research to figure out which books students need and how to get them in here. And that's just fantastic. She is really following that mission of being a resource, being a place that has resources, means to get the resources, even if, for reading lifelong. And I feel like she's a great administrator, and seeing that has just been fantastic. So that's my standards. And then of course I have my handy 3 or 5 lesson, my journal articles, my principal interview, my theorist paper. Quickly, I'm just gonna go over, I'm very proud of this as well, because I finally got to read Ruby Payne's work on helping students in poverty, which I feel is very important as a librarian. You have to adapt to all of those students. So lastly, my philosophy of education. So I feel my leadership philosophy. As someone who came into the education career later than others, I feel like being a leader in the school is more than important, because you are a leader in the classroom and you need to step up, otherwise you're going to be swept away and those students are never going to get what they need to from you. You have to be a leader in the classroom, you have to be a leader in the school. That's my leadership philosophy. Always do what's best for your students. Always do what's best for you. And you have to take charge. Otherwise, you're never going to you're going to be an okay teacher, but you're never going to make a difference that you need. You have to be a leader. So that's my leadership philosophy, and that's my video tour. Thank you.